Hey, it's Erica. Welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be talking about Reddit Fantasy Bingo. I'm overdue for talking about this, kind of giving an update where I'm at. I am participating in this year's Reddit Fantasy Bingo. Once again, if you're not familiar with this, every year the Fantasy Sub on Reddit runs a bingo challenge. It starts on April 1st. It ends March 31st of the following year, so you get a full year. They give you a bingo card that changes every year. I'll put the bingo card up so you can see what this year's version looks like. And so every year they give different prompts for the squares, and you can choose a book that will fit the specifications of the prompt. Pretty simple, right? It's any book that you want for each square as long as it fits the prompts, which is really nice. It's like I'm not a person where I want to be told specifically what I have to read, so I love that this gives the freedom to choose what books that you want as long as they fit the category of the square. I think that's really fun. My goal for this year is to do as many as I can. Last year my goal was to fill up an entire bingo card. I'd never filled a full card before. That was my first time actually going for the whole thing. I did, and honestly it felt like it felt like a lot of work with some of those squares. So I have completed my achievement. I've done a full bingo card. So this year I do have books in mind for each square, but I'm not gonna go out of my way to read books that I'm just like, you know what, I am not having a good time, I'm done. So if I end up with squares that are unfulfilled, I've made my peace with that. That's fine, because I mean there's so many books that I want to read just in general, and this is supposed to be fun, right? There's really that's the whole point, at least for me. The whole point is to have fun. So what I thought we would do is go through each square, and I will mention the book that I've chosen for each square's reading prompt. And then I've also gotten through a good number of these books so far. I'm really proud of myself not waiting until the last minute to get this reading done. So I will mention the ones that I've already been able to get to as well. I have had a couple of DNFs, so I already know that, like, if I'm motivated to circle back and maybe like go through the sub and try to see if there's another book that's already on my list of stuff that I want to read that will fit the prompts for the squares that I've DNF'd, I might do that once I get everything else like completed on the bingo card. I haven't decided yet though, but that's kind of where we're at. So we are just gonna go in order. I'm gonna read through, we'll just go like line by line from top to bottom, and we'll talk about the squares. Oh, I guess I should say, if you are at all interested in also participating in this, I'm gonna leave a link down in the description for the video. It'll take you to the sub, take you to like the main bingo post, so you can see like much better explanation of the program that they run, the bingo program. It's a lot of work for the sub. I think it's really awesome that they do this just to encourage people to, sometimes you end up branching out or get to things that have been on your list that you want to read, kind of gives that extra motivation. And it's just fun. It's a fun part of the community over there. So I will link it if you're interested in participating. The end of the year, when like bingo is approaching the deadline, they give you the opportunity to submit all of your reads from your bingo card into like their spreadsheet that they run. So if you're a member of the sub and you get a full bingo card, then they'll give you a little flair in the sub to show that you have filled out a bingo card completely. So all of that will be in the description box. We will go through the bingo card here, and we'll talk about my bingo reading plans slash current book status for these. So we'll start at the top. I'm just gonna go left to right, and I'm looking at my little laptop here, so don't mind me as I'm looking at this. You're gonna see the card up here, and I'm gonna read the prompts, right, for what we've got. So, knights and paladins. One of the protagonists is a paladin or a knight. Hard mode is the character has an oath or a promise to keep. So hard mode, they do for most squares. It's kind of an extra challenge to the reading prompt. You don't have to go hard mode. I tried to do all hard mode last year. I did succeed in all hard mode. This year, I am keeping it casual. Like, if I fill the square, awesome. If it happens to be hard mode, cool. But if it's not a big deal. The book that I've chosen for this is actually going to be an ebook. I don't have a physical copy. When I have a physical copy, I will physically show you the copy. So this one is going to be Between Two Fires by Christopher Buehlman. I've been meaning to read Black Tongue Thief, so this is actually going to be my first Christopher Buehlman, I believe. This is what we're diving in with, but it's been on my list for, I don't know, quite a while. People seemed obsessed with it for a little bit there, and so I'm going to mark this one off my list. Hidden Gem. This is a book with under 1,000 ratings on Goodreads. New releases and arcs from popular authors do not count. Follow the Spirit of the Square. Hard mode is published more than 5 years ago. I have already actually read this book, and I believe that it fit hard mode. I read Death and the Dragon. This is the sequel to Death and the Taxman by David Hankins. I read Death and the Taxman when it came out. It's like an indie published book, so I got the Kickstarter from the author, and it was just a fun read. Our main character is Death, the Grim Reaper, and in the first book we follow him on an adventure in the real world and kind of dabbling in like the afterlife / spirit world, and adventures continue in this one. And there's a dragon. So I finished this. I really enjoyed it. If the series continues, I will also continue reading it. All right, the next one, published in the 80s. This is a pretty straightforward one. They tend to have a category each year where they change the decade that they're prompting you to choose a book from. So this is read a book that was first published anytime between 1980 and 89. Hard mode, written by an author of color. And the one that I have chosen for this is Kiki's Delivery Service. I got this cute little edition from Barnes & Noble. Everybody seems to really enjoy this one. It's going to be a super fast read. What is this? This is like not even 200 pages. So I'm very excited for this, and have not read it yet, but I'm probably going to be reading it shortly. I'm saving it as kind of like a palate cleanser book, and I've got some John Gwynne I'm gonna start in January, so maybe it'll end up being then. I don't know exactly when I'm gonna read this, but I might end up reading it maybe between some of that. Okay, and the next one, High Fashion. Read a book where clothing / fashion or fiber arts are important to the plot. This can be a crafty main character, such as Torn by Rowena Miller, or a setting where fashion itself is explored, like A Mask of Mirrors by M.A. Carrick. I do have that book. I don't know if you can see it. It's back there because I'm subscribed to The Broken Binding, their fantasy sub, and they just did that series earlier this year, so I did consider that. But man, it seemed like everybody was doing that to fill up that square, and like I'm not opposed to that, but it also would have meant committing to starting another series right now, which I'm trying to limit. So, and actually, I guess I should mention the hard mode for this. Hard mode for this is the main character makes clothes or fibers. So I ended up actually choosing, I don't have the physical copy yet, but there is a special edition of this coming out, I feel like within the next month or two. Anyway, I've pre-ordered it. It's Howl's Moving Castle by Diana Wynne Jones. I am going to be getting through this one. That's another one that I'm anticipating is going to be used as kind of like a palate cleanser through some of my more violent or I don't know, much more intense, serious reading that I have with the fantasy. So that's my current plan. The last one in this line is Down with the System. Read a book in which a main plot revolves around disrupting a system. Hard mode, not a governmental system. The one that I ended up choosing for this is Blood Over Bright Haven. Again, been looking for an excuse to read this. I just haven't had the time. So this is going to be the perfect opportunity to jump onto the Blood Over Brighthaven bandwagon. This is the very beautiful Broken Binding edition. I realize as I go through stuff at this point, man, most of my special editions come from the Broken Binding. I've been branching out to some other publishers, but I get a lot from the Broken Binding. So yeah, beautiful edition, and I'm going to finally read this. Down to the second row, we have Impossible Places. Read a book set in a location that would break a physicist. The geometry, non-Euclidean. The volume, bigger on the inside. The directions, merely a suggestion. Hard mode, at least 50% of the book takes place within the impossible place. Okay, this one I have already read. This one is hard mode, and I read book 2 of Dungeon Crawler Carl. This is Carl's Doomsday Scenario. I loved this. I have just recently finished the 3rd book, and I am very soon going to be starting, well, I don't know, maybe by the time you see this, I will have started the 4th one, but I'm continuing the series. There's 7 published as of right now, and my goal is to be all caught up on the published books so far in the series by the end of 2025. So I'm well on my way. I loved this book. I strongly recommend this series in general. Everyone is currently obsessed with this book, and like this series, including myself, and it's for a reason. It deserves the hype. Strongly recommend. Go and read Dungeon Crawler Carl. Okay, a book in parts. Read a book that is separated into large sections within the main text. This can include things like acts, parts, days, years, and so on, but has to be more than just chapter breaks. Hard mode, the book has 4 or more parts. This one, unfortunately, so this was an ebook. I did end up DNFing this. This, of course, is Bunny by Mona Awad. I just really was bored. I was bored by this. I gave it my best shot, and it just didn't work for me. I don't see myself revisiting this at any point. Like I said, unfortunately, but I tried. So this will be one that maybe I'll try to come back to by the end of bingo if I feel so inclined or I have the time, or maybe not. But I gave it my best shot and it didn't work. So Gods and Pantheons is the next square, and that is to read a book featuring divine beings. Hard mode. There are multiple pantheons involved. Okay, this one I also already read, and it was Percy Jackson and the Olympians, The Titan's Curse. This is book 3 in the first Percy Jackson series. This was my first time reading Percy Jackson, and I guess I should say, I believe one of the rules, and you can see more when you go onto the sub if you're interested and you take a look, one of the rules is that you read books that are like new to you, that you haven't read before, so because they don't generally want you rereading things. So you can of course choose authors that you've already read, but generally you're supposed to be choosing books that you haven't read before. So I am in the middle of the Percy Jackson series for the first time, so I used this one to meet this square, and I really enjoyed it. I think I gave it like a 4-star, and I've only got 2 books left in that first series. I think I need to look further into it. I don't know if there's like some debate about whether a sixth book is truly part of that series or not. Whatever. I am not informed enough to get in the middle of this internet argument. So I own 5 books in the series that I got from the Illumicrate special edition. So that's what I plan to read. I may continue reading after that. So last in a series, read the final entry in a series. Hard mode. The series is 4 or more books long. Okay, this is definitely not going to be hard mode, and I actually, I'm in the middle of this. This is The Devil My Name. This is book 2 in a duology. The first one, of course, is Fever House, which I really, really loved. These are horror. It's a horror duology. Really love Fever House. I'm just barely into this, but it's a super fast read, so I'll probably be done within just a few days if I actually sit down and start to read it. I just haven't really had time. So this one, I'm excited to get this finished because it'll be another series that I'll mark off. And I mean, it's I love a duology, and I feel like I just said in the video, maybe in the video, that I don't know. I said it at some point recently. We need more, or I need more, like, just standalones or duologies. I love a long series. I love a trilogy, but I also want the shorter options too. I just want like variety. So yes, I'll be wrapping that up. Book club or read along book. So the prompt on this one, and I think they usually, this is like a repeating square, I think. This one is read a book that was or is officially a group read on r/fantasy. Every book added to our Goodreads shelf or on this Google spreadsheet, and they provide you with a Google spreadsheet you can click on, counts for the square. You can see our past read-alongs here, and then they have a little list of read-alongs that you can go to. Hard mode, read and participate in an R fantasy book club or read-along during the bingo year. Last year I did participate. This year I am not participating. I chose a book that was on the list that they already had, because this is one that I've had on my list for a while. This is Gods of Jade and Shadow by Silvia Moreno Garcia. Silvia Moreno Garcia, I feel like she's been a little hit or miss. I mean, I enjoyed Mexican Gothic, and I'm open to reading more. I wished that she had, it felt like she didn't quite go far enough in Mexican Gothic, but I loved the concepts of what she was doing, and I feel like that was one of her early books, wasn't it? So I'm like, I don't know, maybe other books I will feel like see her development and see her be able to like bring it home in a really satisfying way. So I've had this one for a while. I feel like I got it at like Half Price Books or something. So it's been on my list for a while, and I'm gonna mark it off on that. And moving down to the next line, we have parent protagonist. Read a book where a main character has a child to care for. The child does not have to be biologically related to the character. Hard mode, the child is also a major character in the story. Okay, so this one, I, again, I'm very excited to have an excuse to read. Frankly, I'm pretty excited about all these books, or why would they be on my list, right? Especially, why would I own them? So I got the awesome edition of Hyperion from the Broken Binding. This is by Dan Simmons. Really beautiful edition that they did for this, and they ended up sending to like this cover with it, which I love this cover. Just the colors, I mean the art in general, it's beautiful. So I have this hidden because they sent 2 covers for this one, but I'm keeping like the official formal first version of like the unique version, I guess I should say, of the book cover. That's the one that I keep on it for it to sit on my shelf. So I'm really excited to read through this one because I mean, I don't do a ton of sci-fi, but I wanted to read this one for quite a long time. Awesome edition that the Broken Binding put out, and yeah, I'm hoping, from what I understand, this will be hard mode, so we'll see. I have not yet read this, obviously. I don't know when I'm going to read it. Realistically, probably early next year, if I had to guess. Okay, the next category is one that I have to admit, I'm not 100% sure how to pronounce it. It's not often that I run into a word where I'm like, how do I pronounce that? But you know what? We're here. And I'm gonna do my best, and if I'm wrong, please feel free to laugh, and please feel free to correct me in the comments. If you correct me, please give me a phonetic spelling of the correction so that I know. Okay, is it epistolary? Epistolary? I feel like epistolary, but that feels, it feels like there should be hyphens in that. Epistolary, but that does, I don't know. Somebody tell me how to pronounce this one. Anyway, what the hell does that mean? It's the book must prominently feature any of the following: diary or journal entries, letters, messages, newspaper clippings, transcripts, etc. Hard mode, the book is told entirely in epistolary format. Epistolary? Epistolary? I feel like maybe it's epistolary. Feels like feels like a word that the British came up with to feel fancy, you know what I mean? Okay, so I actually did already read this book. I loved this book. I read the third book in the Emily Wilde trilogy, Emily Wilde's Compendium of Lost Tales. This is the UK edition. I have the UK trilogy, the version of this trilogy, because I just thought their covers were really beautiful. And as we all know, how a book looks is the most important thing. So I did finish this one. I absolutely loved this book. I loved this trilogy, and I cannot recommend it enough. It was comforting, yet also, I mean, there was violence in this. There were some high stakes in this, but it also felt kind of like cozy, and the romance in this was exactly the kind of romance that I'm into. It was sweet, it was realistic, and the characters, like, they had a really good dynamic together that I enjoyed watching them. I just really liked it. And actually, I loved this so much, I just pre-ordered. I believe Heather Fawcett is coming out with a new book, and so I believe it's a pre-order that I got, so I'm very excited to read that when I end up getting it. I feel like it's coming out maybe later this year. I think so. But with the recent, like, Barnes & Noble had a recent sale, so I decided to pre-order it, and I'm very excited. This one, okay, the center square, this is also a repeating square. They tend to have the prompt that's, you know, read a book published in whatever year it currently is for the bingo year that they're reading. So published in 2025, a book published for the first time in 2025, no reprints or new editions. Hard mode, it's also a debut novel, as in it's the author's first published novel. I did not do hard mode for this, but I did already read it, and I had a hella good time. I read John Scalzi's When the Moon Hits Your Eye. This takes place in, like, our Earth world, and Mr. Scalzi's prompt is, what would people do and think and say, and how would they react if all of a sudden one day the moon turned into cheese? Well, he both asks that question and he answers it in this book. So it was actually a lot deeper too than you would think, like a book about the moon turning into cheese. But it explored a lot about, like, human nature and how we cope with things that we're unfamiliar with, our reactions to that knowledge and each other. He finds a way to, like, take these ridiculous concepts in his books and really still show, like, fundamental concepts of humanity. And I had a lot of fun reading this. But also, man, especially after living through, like, with COVID and everything, so much of what I saw in here, I was like, yup, I could see that. I could see that 100%. Okay, next square, author of color. Read a book written by a person of color. Hard mode, read a horror novel by an author of color. I did not initially realize this was going to be hard mode. I don't know why I didn't realize it. I knew this was going to be horror, but it just didn't put two and two together. I have not yet read it, but it is coming up shortly here. I'm going to read it by the end of October. This is the new book by Stephen Graham Jones. This is The Buffalo Hunter. New book, I say, because it was published earlier this year, but I really, really loved the Indian Lake trilogy by Stephen Graham Jones. I finished it, I feel like either earlier this year or it was like the end of last year that I finished that trilogy. I loved it so deeply. I will absolutely read, like, I will try to read any book that this author puts out. So this is his new one. I think this is the signed edition. I got the, I pre-ordered it. Yes, I pre-ordered it from the Barnes & Noble. So lovely signed edition. Beautiful red edges. I feel like this is a vampire book. I think it's going to be like a Wild West vampire book. I think. Don't quote me. To be real, I rarely read Like, I really don't read blurbs or, like, the jackets. Don't read them. I just don't. So I'm hoping that I like this. I feel like it's a vampire book, and we're going to find out soon because, like I said, I'm going to read it by the end of October. Last square on this row, small press or self-published. Read a book published by a small press, not one of the big five publishing houses or Bloomsbury or self-published. If a formerly self-published book has been picked up by a publisher, it only counts if you read it before it was picked up. Hard mode. The book has under 100 ratings on Goodreads, or or written by a marginalized author. Okay, this one is not going to be hard mode. I'm actually in the middle of this one right now. I'm reading the ebook, so I'll put the cover up. I'm reading Murder on the Lamplight Express by Morgan Stang. This is book 2 in this series. I don't recall the name of this series right now, but I really enjoyed book 1. Book 1 was basically like if you took like detective fiction, like an Agatha Christie, but made it fantasy. And like it was I keep wanting to say Murder at Starling House. It wasn't Murder at Starling House. Starling House was a book that I hated. Hold on, let me see, what was the first book in this series? Give me a second. Okay, Murder at Spindle Manor. I was way off. Really enjoyed that book. It was exactly what it sounds like. It was a murder that took place at a hotel. The main character is like a huntress slash kind of like magical detective, and she had to solve the murder. So this time, in this second book that I'm currently in the middle of, that's Murder on the Lamplight Express, our main character is, okay, so that first one was basically like a whodunit at a hotel. This is Murder on the Orient Express, but make it fantasy. Okay, it's very amusing, and like that, I guess that's one difference, is that it's much more lighthearted. Like, it's a lighthearted fantasy series. Just likable characters. It's fast paced and the writing is fun. I'm just having a good time. And right now I think there's only 3 books in this series. I'm absolutely going to read the 3rd book. I don't know, as soon as possible, I guess, after I read this one. I don't know if there's going to be more books in the series, but if there are, currently, I plan to read them because I'm having a hell of a good time. So in the middle of that, we'll probably be done with it by the end of September, if I had to guess. Okay, moving on to the 4th row, we've got Biopunk. Okay. Biopunk. Read a book that focuses on biotechnology and or its consequences. Hard mode. There is no electricity-based technology. Okay, so my plan, and I actually have to read 2 books to fulfill this prompt. So my plan is to fulfill this with A Drop of Corruption. But in order to do that, I have to read The Tainted Cup. I did not yet read The Tainted Cup. I think I'm the only person on the internet or who reads fantasy in general who has not read The Tainted Cup. But look, I was waiting for this to come out, and now I have it, and now I have to read both together anyway, because I have to read this to fulfill the prompt, but I can't read this until I read The Tainted Cup. So it all worked itself out. So yes, I'll be reading this, if I had to guess, probably next year, but who knows? I don't have anything set in stone at this point for a reading order. Well, that's a lie. That is a damn lie, because I'm currently reading Murder on the Lamplight Express and The Devil by Name, and by the end of October I'm going to be reading the Stephen Graham Jones book. So I'm out here lying. I'm just straight up lying that there is no order. There is an order, just not for some of these books, I guess. Okay. The next square, elves and or dwarves. Read a book that features the classical fantasy archetypes of elves and or dwarves. They do not have to fit the classic tropes, but must be either named as elves and or dwarves, or be easily identified as such. Hard mode, the main character is an elf or a dwarf. Okay, the one that I'm going to read, I believe, is going to fit hard mode, and I'm excited because this is going to fit into my series reading. I was going to be reading it anyway. This is the Broken Binding edition. It's combining two different stories from Catherine Addison into one edition. I'm just going to read the whole damn thing. But The Witness for the Dead, from what I understand, should meet this prompt, but I'm also going to read The Grief of Stones. So that is on my list. Beautiful Broken Binding edition. I was very lucky to get it, and yeah, I really loved The Goblin Emperor, so I'm looking forward to continuing in this world. Okay, LGBTQIA protagonist. Read a book where just a main character, not the main character, is under the LGBTQIA plus umbrella. Hard mode. The character is marginalized on at least one additional axis, such as being a person of color, disabled, a member of an ethnic / religious / cultural minority in the story, etc. My stack of books is about to collapse, so like, give me a minute here to deal with this. Hold on. Okay, so this one unfortunately was another DNF. I intended to read The Phoenix Keeper. This is by, who is it? S.A. McLean. Really beautiful edition of it. Sorry, I'm trying to hold it in a way that's like not gonna just reflect back to the camera. This was Illumicrate. I really thought I was gonna like this one. This is about like a magic zoo, but I got a couple chapters in and the writing just really didn't work for me, so I DNF'd it. It wasn't bad writing. It more so felt like, and again, I was only a couple chapters in, but it felt like it couldn't make up its mind between whether it wanted to be urban fantasy or like fantasy. And I'm okay with either one, but I need the author to pick a lane. Like any author, whatever you're gonna write, I need you to pick a lane. Like doing a mashup really throws me because I find myself preoccupied with being like, okay, but like, what is this supposed to be? So unfortunately, I found this too distracting because that's how my messed up brain works. But the writing was not bad, and I think this would probably be a really fun story. It's about like a magic zoo. It's a phoenix keeper. She caretakes for phoenixes. But I had to give this one up. This is, like I said, one of the 2 DNFs. I may come back to this just like with the book in parts. We'll have to see. We'll have to see where my reading is at, how fast I get through the rest of the bingo books, how motivated I am to try to find replacements for the books that I end up DNFing during bingo. Not sure yet, but unfortunately this was a DNF for me. Okay, 5 SFF short stories. So it's science fiction fantasy short stories. Any short SFF story, as long as there are 5 of them. Hard mode, read an entire SFF anthology or collection. I met hard mode because I ended up reading Sharp Ends by Joe Abercrombie. This is a collection of short stories and I really enjoyed it. I actually just recently ordered the Broken Binding edition that they're putting out. It's not out yet. I don't know when that's going to be sent to people, but that will be coming to me when it is published, so then I will have it. I feel like a lot of people are like mixed feelings on this short story collection for The First Law. I guess I could see why. I mean, some of it I guess was kind of slow, but I enjoyed it because it's just, I don't know, Joe Abercrombie speaks to me, man. But yeah, that was my feelings on it. I will probably end up keeping this one too, because like the hardcover I think is not really easy to get to begin with, and this matches the Age of Madness editions that I have. Am I making like weird justifications to keep multiple editions of books? Yeah, I am, and I know this. Okay, last square on this line. This is Stranger in a Strange Land. Read a book that deals with being a foreigner in a new culture. The character or characters, if they're a group, must be either visiting or moving in as a minority. Hard mode, the main character is an immigrant or refugee. This one I think is going to fit hard mode. I don't know for sure, but I think that it is. I am going to read... Ooh, it's shiny. The Teller of Small Fortunes by Julie Leong. This is like a cozy fantasy. I see it's got like mixed reviews, but I feel like a lot of the not, I don't know, I hate to say negative because I don't know that I really see negative feelings about this, but there's people who just aren't into it. I feel like there are people who aren't really into cozy fantasy stuff. I like a wide variety of fantasy, but I love just like chill fantasy to, like I said, palate cleanse. I read some very violent and intense fantasy and I love it, but I need a break sometimes. Sometimes I want kittens and butterflies and just like happy things. Sometimes I do, okay? And so we're gonna give this one a try. I don't know exactly when. In between some kind of intensely bloody books or something that I'm gonna read, then I'll pick this one up to like brain bleach myself. Okay. Going down to the bottom line. Bottom line, we're almost done. Recycle a bingo square. Okay, this was a fun one. This was a fun one. Use a square from a previous year, which is 2015 to 2024, as long as it does not repeat one on the current card. As in, you can't have two book club book squares. Hard mode. Not very clever of us, but do the hard mode for the original square. Okay. So I already finished this one, and they do make a note that says, apologies that there are no hard modes for bingo challenges before 2018. I chose a square from 2015, which was the first year of bingo. I went far back because I was like, let me just see like the origins of bingo. Let me do an homage in my bingo square to the original. So I did. I chose a 2015 square. It was 2015 Portal. For that one, I finished it. I'm going to throw it up here. Actually, I finished the whole damn series. This was Chronicles of the Black Gate by Phil Tucker. That's the series. It's a 5-book series. There's also a couple of short stories. Finished those too. So enjoyable. Like, not every book in that was a 5-star. I would say the lowest rating, I don't know, I feel like I gave one of the books maybe a 3.5. I feel like I gave maybe book 3 a 3.5, but I feel like I gave book 1 a 5. I think book 5 was also a 5, and then the other 2 books I think were like 4s. Overall though, as enjoyment of a series, this is like straddling the line, wanting to be a 5. This was a high enjoyment series. I really was so impressed by the use of portals, and we're jumping around like from perspectives of different characters. I think it's 5 to 6 different characters. I know, I'm like, I should know this, right? I read the whole damn thing. Look, it's a small group of characters that we're rotating the perspectives on, and I liked all of the characters that we rotated the perspectives on. I felt like the perspective shifts were used effectively, and we saw, because there's different like sides in this story, and not all of like the perspectives that we saw were not all on the same side. I think he used that effectively. Not everybody does. Makes you feel like when you're reading this character you're rooting for them, but then you go to read the next chapter and it's from a character that with a different perspective, and they're like directly opposing that character you just read whose side you were on. But that new chapter, now you're on this character's side. It's hard, I think, for an author or a storyteller, if it's a movie or TV show, any kind of storyteller being presented, I think it's really hard to be able to present your story and your characters in a way that makes your reader or your viewer or whatever like really empathetic and supportive, and be able to get behind each one, even when they have like diametrically opposed interests or values. I think it's hard to do. I would imagine it's very hard to do, and he did it very in a way that worked really well for me. So I really loved this series. I've ordered a couple of Kickstarters that he put out. I feel like he put them out this year. So I don't have them yet. I don't even know when they're going to come here. Probably next year, if I had to guess. But very excited to read more of Phil Tucker. And I really recommend, if you're looking for a fantasy that's kind of, I don't know, it's not recommended every day, go and check out the Chronicles of the Black Gate. It was very enjoyable. Speaking of cozy, didn't I just go on a mini rant about cozy fantasy? I feel like I did. Cozy SFF. Cozy, that's in quotes, so I'm not just doing air quotes for no reason. It's in quotes. Cozy is up to your preferences for what you find comforting, but the genre typically features relatable characters, low stakes, minimal conflict, and a happy ending. Hard mode, the author is new to you. Okay. This is not going to be hard mode, but I am really excited for this. I am going to be reading a T. Kingfisher book, A Wizard's Guide to Defensive Baking, and I don't know, it's been on my list for a long time. I'm determined to slowly make my way through all of T. Kingfisher, so here we are. We're going to do this. Another one where I'm like, Don't know when I'm going to read it. It's going to be read by March 31st. Going to use it as palate cleanser. Generic title. Read a book that has one or more of the following words in the title: blood, bone, broken, court, dark, shadow, song, sword, or throne. Plural is allowed. Hard mode. The title contains more than one of the listed words or contains at least one word and a color, number, or animal, real or mythical. Okay. This is one, it's going to spur me to continue the series. So I'm going to read Shadows of Self. Fits the generic title prompt. I realized when I just did the wrap up that I was filming, I have read 0 Brandon Sanderson this year. I've made 0 progress in reading through the Cosmere. My only explanation is, I don't know, I've been focused on trying to wrap up some of the other series because I've got such a long way still to go in the Cosmere. So I've been focusing on wrapping up some of those other series first and whittling those down. So unfortunately the Cosmere kind of went to the wayside, but I'm going to be done with the first law within the next couple of months. I'm going to be starting working through like John Gwynne in like January. My goal is to do next year will be John Gwynne. I'll just do like all 3 of his big series next year. Because I think it's 11 books, so it'll be like 1 per month. But I'm going to try to interlace that with working my way through the Cosmere again and making progress on that. So this will incentivize me to keep going on that, because I think I've got a couple of other books to read before I get to Shadows of Self. In the Cosmere, I'm following a reading order from the Cosmere sub, so it's not necessarily in publication order or even in like a sub-series order of the Cosmere. In some places it kind of jumps around, so I've got to go back to my reading order and figure out what, because I know where I left off. I left off at, hold on, I've got to look at my Brando Sando books. Hold on. I feel like I read Words of Radiance last. Man, I am like, I've been up for a long time. I'm like yawning. I feel like I read Words of Radiance and now I'm supposed to jump to the second Mistborn series, I think, but I'll have to double check. Anyway, that's my goal. Not a book. This was sort of an unexpected square, and I did already finish it. This is do something new besides reading a book, watch a TV show, play a game, learn how to summon a demon. Okay, maybe not the last one. Spend some time with fantasy, science fiction, or horror in another format. Movies, video games, TTRPGs, board games, etc. all count. There is no rule about how many episodes of a show will count or whether or not you have to finish a video game. New is the key word here. We do not want you to play a new save on a game you have played before or to watch a new episode of a show you enjoy. You can do a whole new TTRPG or a new campaign in a system you have played before, but not a new session in a game you have been playing. Okay, so for this one, just like, I don't know, everybody in the world at this point, I watched K-pop Demon Hunters on Netflix. Not the kind of, I don't know, not really the kind of movie that I would typically gravitate to, but it was a phenomenon, and I first heard of it, I was at Comic-Con. Actually, I was in line for this panel, and this girl came up and got, I don't know, I say girl, but she was like my age, probably in her 30s, but she came up and she stood in line right next to me, and we started chatting, and she had a cosplay on. I was like, what the hell are you? And she was like, have you heard of Demon Hunters? And I'm like, the anime? And she's like, no, this show on Netflix. And I'm like, no. And she's like, well, this is from one of the scenes. She was so cute in her cosplay. I came home and I watched the movie. It was blowing up online at that point. So after I watched the movie, I understood her cosplay. I have no idea what her name is. We sat next to each other at the panel. It was a great time. It was a Jurassic Park liability panel. But if you're watching this, I know you're not. If you are, I understand your cosplay now, and it was fantastic and true to the true to the movie. So I already fulfilled this this square. That was actually quite an easy one to do. The last square, and I was so excited when I saw this square because I love pirates. So okay, what was the prompt? Read a book where characters engage in piracy. Hard mode. Not a seafaring pirate. This one I settled on reading. It's gonna be, I have the ebook version, so I'll just put this up here. I'm gonna read All Systems Red by Martha Wells. I am way overdue for reading the Murderbot Diaries, and I also want to watch the show, but I wanted to read this first, so I am going to start the series, like start reading the books, because I think they're like novellas, right? I think they're pretty fast. So I'm finally going to start working my way through them. One of my friends, I feel like, has had really positive things to say about Murderbot Diaries too, but I feel like everybody's got positive things to say about the series. So that is going to be my pirates prompt. How did I figure out which books to read for all of these? Okay, so like some of them are obvious, like published in 2025. I just picked a book that like I was a new release, and I I had it, and I was like, I'm gonna read this. So like some of it is like super obvious where I don't need help, but a lot of these I do, because I'm like, I don't necessarily know what books are gonna fit these prompts. So what the sub does, Reddit, like the Reddit fantasy sub, very helpfully, when they first do the bingo announcement, they also do another post where it's like just suggestions for each prompt. So you can go through and check the suggestions for books that will meet the prompt. So other people will be like, oh, this, you know, this book will fit this square or whatever. So typically, when actually what I think they also do is like each month they'll have at least one post, I guess maybe a couple posts a month, where they explore more in-depth recommendations for each square as well, like a separate square, each one that they focus on, like do a spotlight on it. So that's what I'll typically do when the bingo, like the new bingo card comes out. I give it a few days, and then I go and I look at those recommendations, like I go through all of them in that recommendations post to see which books are being suggested for the squares, to see like, what do I already have on my list of stuff that I want to read? Because like I'm trying to work my way through my backlist. I'm trying to work my way through the books I already own. So like I can say like all of the books that I'm reading here are books that like are in my possession, needed to be read at some point. So it's also a good way to motivate, you know, picking from like my backlist of titles from my TBR. So that's how I narrow it down. Then what I do is like I'll make a list for each square of all of the book candidates that I've gone through, you know, like in the Reddit post. I'll note down which books for each square. And so for some squares, I've got like 6 books that are recommended that I've got on like my list of stuff that I want to read. And then I just go through and I choose which one I'm gonna settle on for each square. So that's kind of how I do it. I don't know how other people do it. I've never asked, so I don't know how other people decide what they're gonna read for like for fantasy bingo reading, but that's how I do it. So once again, I will put all of the information in the description box for this video. So if you want to participate, by all means, join in. There's lots of discussions on the sub throughout the year about bingo reading. Like I said, it's a fun thing they do in the community, and I hope it continues. So that's my plan for this year. I'm already, let me count. How many do I already? I guess it'd be, how many do I have left? Because there's 25 squares total. I've completed 10. Once I finish the 2 that I'm in the middle of, I will be like 1 book away from being over the 50% mark. So I'm doing pretty well considering this started on April 1st and I'm not quite 6 months through it yet. Doing pretty good on my bingo reading. So hopefully smooth sailing to get everything done by the March 31st deadline. But like I said, if I don't get them all, then I don't, and I'm okay with that this year. So I will work my way through the ones that I have not attempted yet. And if I feel so inclined to go back and try to do like try to find other books to fill the squares for books that I DNF'd, I will, but I just don't know yet if I'm gonna do that. So to be determined. Anyway, that's my bingo update. That's where I'm at. I don't know when I'll check in. Maybe like end of December I'll do another check-in, or maybe like beginning of the year, just to see where I'm at, see how much progress I've made, what I have to do left. What I have to do left, good Lord, that's some good English right there. What I have left to do for all of the reading, I will check in at some point again before the deadline. So that's where I'm at. Are you participating in the fantasy bingo too? Like, are you making progress on your card? Let me know. Like, are you on track? Are you farther ahead? There's people that do this who do like multiple bingo cards each time. Respect to them, because I struggle to complete one. To complete just one bingo card. Some people are out here like doing multiple themed bingo cards, and it's really impressive, the like the creativity, and just, I don't know, it gets people reading, which is fun. And so it's even more conversation with you know, getting to see more conversation about books. Also, I guess, are you a person that's like, I've never heard of this Reddit fantasy bingo thing, this is something new to me, I don't know what the hell it is, I'm gonna have to look into it? Let me know too. I don't know. I hope I've convinced you to at least check it out. It is fun. It's really nice. Like, again, because you can choose what book that you want to read for each prompt, it's really nice. I don't want to be told specifically what book to read, but just give me an idea. Give me a general idea of like the kind of book I'm supposed to choose, and then I will go and find one that I want to read based on those options. So that is all that I have today, and I'm actually gonna go now after I finish this and try to do a little bit of reading of Devil by Name before I've got to leave in just a little bit. So I'm gonna try to get through some of that book because I've been putting it off for a few days now. Yeah. Anyway, that's all that I've got for you today. Thank you so much for coming by. I always appreciate it. Please remember to like this video and subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you next time. Thanks.